Hola, saludos a todos. Estoy aquí con mi amigo Gary Christen. Estamos en el Congreso de Baltimore, de la MSGR. Y Gary es una persona muy inteligente que pues yo respeto mucho y es creador de un software bien interesante que quiero que conozcan. Se llama el nueva Chart Wheels. Hello Gary, these are my friends from Mexico.
Hi.
I would like if you can give us a talk about the software you developed, the Nova Chart Wheels.
Well, as you know, the company is Astrolabe.
Absolutely.
And our main bread and butter software is Solar Fire. And Chart Wheels was developed because the mainstream programs didn't do what I wanted to do, and we have to design software for the mainstream. So Chart Wheels was an experiment that the programmer, myself as a designer, worked on at Astrolabe just so I could go off and demonstrate how to use 90-degree dials and 360-degree dials in the public. It got out of hand. we invented a different interface.
Yes, but it also has a very interesting features in your software, like well, you said already the 90-degree dial.
Correct.
And the
360.
Yes, but yesterday in Madeline's here at the conference, I was impressed by the Paran clock.
Yeah, what happened was, as we developed the dial work and began to create what we call the working data structure. In other words, this is a very different interface because you interact with it. So it takes whatever working date as a beginning point, and everything gets tied to that. The progressions, the solar arcs, all that stuff. And we had this loader, we call it a loader program. And then we decided that, oh, here's a technique we want to see. Oh, here's another technique we want to put in. And we began to put in the work of Arthur Blackwell with his polar azimuthal projection.
Yes, I love it. That work.
Now, the proper name is the polar azimuthal equidistant projection.
Not the flat Earth.
No, it's not the Flat Earth Society. It's the polar azimuthal equidistant projection, PA for short. And from there, an old idea of mine came up. When I first started astrology, I wanted to make a clock because the chips were coming out for clocks. And I wanted to make a clock in sidereal time so that I could have a midheaven transiting all the time.
Yes.
It's like one would look at a clock and say, oh, it's 12 noon. I could look at the clock and say Saturn's on the midheaven. And we had made them mechanically out of naval chronometers, 24-hour clocks, and push them fast. So they'd pick up a minute every day, and we would drop a plumb line around a zodiac and have this thing spin like this, and we would know what degree was on the midheaven. So we played with this for a long time. I played with this in my mind for a very long time until the tools were available. Then we were able to create the clock. So I was able to make the clock, instead of just the midheaven, all the planets in their mundane positions.
This is astrology of the future, right?
Yes.
And I like very much also the Uranian system of astrology, or as you say, the equidistant astrology or symmetrical astrology.
Correct. The idea being that a man named Alfred Witte, he was born in the late 1800s and died in 1941. He was a very good scholar, and he completely looks at astrology, all the written material, from the Greeks forward, and synthesizes it. Takes out the essence of the Greek work, right? Takes out the essence of the medieval work. He throws away rulership. And that upsets a lot of folks. But he throws away rulership because the astrology in the future is going to be the interaction of planets. And
it's wonderful. It's an astrology direct to the point.
Right. It's a direct use of the planets directly. And what we began to see in the late 80s and early 80s was actually with me it was in the 70s, but is the underlying concept of symmetry. In other words, we begin to see that events occur because they resonate with each other.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what an opening between two planets is, the distance between them. If any other factors share that opening, that distance, they'll be resonating with it, just like a guitar string will resonate with the musical notes from an orchestra, right? Or a tuning fork will resonate at the right vibration. So will the openings in your horoscope. So we began to realize that, well, Vita was correct. He had a very good look at astrology, and we call that the Uranian system. But what Vita didn't know about was, he didn't know about the Babylonians. He didn't know about the Mayans. He didn't know about the Indian. He didn't go and study Indian astrology. He did not study Chinese astrology. And all these other forms approach astrology very differently than the Greek approach that the Uranian system is synthesized from. None of these systems had an ecliptic. None of these systems had aspects, houses, anything like it. You know, so particularly with the Babylonians, we get into this idea of the horizon being critical to all the early systems. So the idea of something rising and something co-rising with it becomes critical. So for example, I showed you yesterday the example of Algol in the polar, in that polar chart, right, that flat Earth chart. And I showed you that the Algol, while it equals on the ecliptic 25, 26 Taurus, it really was close to 20 degrees north of the ecliptic. So it isn't effective unless it rises with something or it sets with something. That's when it's conjoined with the planet. So the Babylonians were correct. They look at the horizon, they look at things rising, culminating, and setting, and it's very different than looking through the ecliptic lens. Now, taking the idea is to take all those ancient materials, strip what's important, right? And the polar azimutal is an example of Babylonian, right? And then begin to try to make a new astrology out of it. Now, most ancient astrologers in their lifetimes maybe could cast 100 horoscopes. They needed patrons, they had no clocks. It was a very difficult, they had to work with old broken tables, right? And yet they came up with marvelous observations. We can look at 1,000 charts in an hour, and we have all the tools out there. We should be getting beyond our past. So, if we sum up symmetrical astrology, we could sum it up with the line that if astrology only has a past, it has no future. And we have to create the future.
We have to interpret the future. Right?
Correct. So if you think about it, we aren't, the chemists of today aren't trying to create lead into gold. You know, they're doing something very different that doesn't look like anything like alchemy, but yet it's connected to alchemy as its roots. The same with the new astrology. The new astrology will not look like what we're learning now. It'll be something different. But any of us can accomplish this. So all I'm saying with symmetrical is use this as a framework, throw it away, and build on it. I do not expect symmetrical to last. I expect it to get discarded for something different and new. Now, chart wheels is the tool for symmetrical astrology at this point in time. And it is very heavily Iranian in terms of being able to do all the techniques that the German schools and Vita pronounce, the multiple house systems, planetary picture,
the Hamburg school,
the whole Hamburg school. But then we begin to do these other things. Do we want to take a picture of some of these?
Yes, could you show us a little bit of the software?
And I'll put up the
azimutal chart. Or
let's grab a chart. Let's grab an astrology chart. Let's grab somebody like.
I just go the other side to.
Yeah, let's move the picture around so you can get this to look good. Now, who should we use? Should we use an astrologer? Let's use Arthur Blackwell.
Okay. Arthur Blackwell. Okay, right.
All right.